30.
Okay.
All right,
Good
we're all set.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April meeting of the Zoning Hearing Board for the City of Reading. I'd like to introduce the members of the board and some other people that served with the board. We'll start with Jared,
Jared Bartz, member of the board.
Tom,
Tom Fox, member of the board.
Jeff,
Jeff Gatone, member of the board.
Bill,
Bill Harst, member of the board.
and I'm Phil Rabina, member of the board. Emily?
Emily Diaz-Melendez with the zoning office.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
Steve Price, solicitor to the board.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have some decisions that we need to render from last month's meeting, and we'll start with those. The first is Appeal 2020-06, 315 Pine Street. Mr. Price,
Is there a motion to deny the relief requested?
I make the motion.
I second.
I second.
Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor to deny, say aye.
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 All in favor of the relief, say nay.
Nay.
No.
Okay, so 2 nays and 3 ayes. Ayes have it to deny. All right,
Yep. The next is Appeal 2022-07, 2300 York Street. Mr. Price.
is there a motion to deny the relief requested subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
So move.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor to deny, say aye.
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 Are there any nays? Okay, that's a unanimous decision then.
The next is Appeal 2022-08. It is 1414 Moss Street. Mr. Price.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, okay.
Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous.
The next is Appeal 2022-10, 322 Walnut Street.
Is there a motion to grant the relief, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
There-
second it.
Okay, questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 That's unanimous. Okay.
Appeal 2022-11, 259 South 10th Street.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to conditions set forth in the written decision?
So move.
So moved.
Motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 That's unanimous. Okay.
Appeal 2022-12, 600 Spring Street.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it. It's unanimous.
Okay, Appeal 2022-13, 101 North 5th Street.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
Second. Or I pros. Approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it.
Aye.
It's all unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay, now, before we get into our appeals for this evening, there was a matter that didn't really appear on any of the information relative to the meeting. But we need to grant, or I need to make a motion to grant a 6-month extension. The property was 2220 Downing Street, and it was appealed 2020-23. And they have requested a 6-month extension for quite a few reasons, all of which, appear legitimate. So I will make a motion to grant them that extension. Do I have a second for that?
Second,
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. So therefore, we will grant that extension. And we have, at this point, been granting only 1 extensions on these things. All right. For this evening, our first appeal is 2022-09. It is 1240 Chestnut Street. Victor Sales Morales, the applicant, is seeking a variance to convert a single-family dwelling into 2-family dwelling and other required dimensional variances. The subject property is located in the R3 residential zoning district. Aztecas Plumbing and Heating AC is the record owner. All right, is the applicant present?
Good afternoon, yes.
Okay. Would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
Yes.
Okay.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, has notice for this? Did you swear in our zoning officer?
I got the zoning officer, yes.
Okay, all right. Has notice for that appeal been given? I didn't hear that.
It has.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price,
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
okay. Mr. Morales, I think you're aware of some of the deficiencies in your application. And then I believe you submitted an amended application. Am I correct?
Yes.
He needs
Okay.
to be sworn.
Please raise your right hand.
Oh, we have to swear him in. I'm sorry.
Do
Okay.
you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name.
Victor Salas Morales.
Thank you.
All right. And I think one of the issues was parking, and I believe you corrected that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Is there any reason, sir, that you don't believe you could leave that as a single-family dwelling and rehab it and still make it a viable economic project for you?
I would say it's kind of be like a big home to have, like one home. It would be like pretty much like, like 7 bedrooms. And at this age, I don't think, you want like 7 bedrooms. And plus it's 2 lots in there in that same property.
Okay. All right. And I believe you brought a similar project like that to us before. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, as I recall. All right, I'm going to see if board members have any questions. Jared, any questions?
So you intend to provide 3 parking spaces at the rear of the building?
Yes, yeah. And then there is a space for the green area to also. Besides, we having a 3 space parking. There is a
Okay,
driveway.
What is the alley behind it? How is the access to those parking spaces?
Off of the 13th Street,
Excuse me?
off of the 13th Street, South 13th Street.
Do you know the
Okay, so
name?
the back,
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Jared.
do you know the name of that access road?
It's an alley.
It's an alley. Yeah.
Okay.
Does it have a name?
It's accessible from 13th Street. It doesn't have a name.
I don't think it has a name, but it's access from the 13th Street. You know,
Is it paved or is it dirt or stoned?
it's a stone.
Do other people that front on Chestnut Street have parking spaces off that alley?
Yes, they do. Yes.
So how wide would you say the alley is?
I believe it's 10 feet, over 10 feet. Yes.
So cars will be able to pull in and back out with no problem?
Yeah. And then plus we're gonna make a turning around area in my lot so they can, you know, they don't have to back up. They can turn around and they go, you know, in a front way to go out. We have plenty of space to do that.
Mhm.
To the right and the left of your of this building, what are there? Are those homes or are those commercial spaces?
Homes, stay homes.
Homes. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Mr. Fox, any questions, Tom?
Yes, one question, sir. I see on your application, there's a gentleman's name, John C. Althouse, who appears to be your neighbor. What is his role in this?
He's just my friend, and you know he helps me. He's my little consultant friend. He helps me a lot. He was a plant engineer one time. He's right here next to me, sitting right now. So that's him.
Did he ever own that property at one time?
No.
All right, I have no more questions.
Okay. Jeff, questions?
Just, have you begun the process already?
No, we wait for a
You
zoning, you
didn't-
know, for you guys. Yes.
Okay, you didn't start anything yet.
No. Yeah, that's the one thing I do. I do things in the right way, in the right pattern. So I don't, you know, I really like the city to do, you know, like a very high. You know, you see my apartments in 12th Street. You know that come out very, very high end stuff. That's what we would like. I would like to do this one too. As that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Harst, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, and I have no questions at this point. Now, is there anybody in the audience who has any questions of this applicant? I don't want to hear whether you support it or you don't support it. If you have any questions, we'll start with that first. Later on, we will go to whether you support it or don't. So is there anybody in? Go ahead.
I have a question for the applicant.
Okay.
You said that it's gravel in the alley. I believe you might have to pave the part that's going to be used to access your parking. If that's gonna end up being required, something we have to look into, would you be willing to pave that portion?
Yeah,
The portion just to your property.
yeah. I agree with that, yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Now, anybody in the audience have any questions? All right, hearing and seeing none. Anybody want to speak in the audience for or against this application? All right, seeing no one.
Hello. I would like to speak about the application.
Okay, and who are you, sir?
My name is Juan Cortez. I'm a local real estate agent.
Where do you reside?
I'm at 1532 Locust Street in Reading, Pennsylvania,
How far away,
1960.
how far away from this property is that location?
It's approximately, I would say, a 7-minute drive or 10-minute drive.
You know, under the zoning laws, you really have to have an interest in the hearing. You have to have standing. So you have to like live across the street or next door or around the corner. So I really don't know what you're standing. Do you own any property near this building?
I do own a property in that general area, but I was just going to speak as the professional that sold Mr. Salas the property as to why I think it's appropriate for a 2-unit if the board would allow that.
Well, if you're a representative of Mr. Morales, I guess you can put your 2 cents in then. So we need to swear you in.
Okay.
You need to give us your name and address, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your full name and address for the record.
My name is Juan Cortez, and my address is 1532 Locust Street, Reading, Pennsylvania, 19604.
Okay, so what you're going to do is speak in support of this, and you're not asking any questions. So go ahead.
So I'd like to speak in support today of the applicant, Victor Salas. He's the owner of Aztecas Plumbing and Heating, which is the owner record of the property. I represented Mr. Salas when I sold the property to him. This property had been in a fire. It is located in a double lot. So there's plenty of space on his left side. And this property allows for plenty of area for parking, which I know is one of the most important things here for the board. I can also speak to Mr. Salas's professionalism. He's going to be doing this project with new electric, new plumbing, all appropriate permits. The city is familiar with Mr. Salas's work. So I think when we think about someone that wants to turn a single unit into a 2-unit, I know it's very difficult, but this would typically house 2 homes in this area. The typical lot is 18 feet wide. This lot is 38. So it's a little bit above double the size. So I don't think it's going to provide like additional harm to the area, because typically this would house 2 properties. And again, he's going to do a really nice job. Everything is going to be brand new to code. And I think anytime that we see anybody that's going to be doing a job of that nature and investing in the city, I think we need to support and approve of that, such as long as we have appropriate parking plan, which this project does allow for that.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Does anybody else have anything to add? If not, I'm going to close this appeal. We'll make a decision at next month's meeting, and you need not be here for that. The decision will be mailed to the appropriate party. And we thank all of you for your input this evening.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Have a good Easter.
Okay. Next matter before us is Appeal 2022-14. It is 449 North 2nd Street. Modesto Fume, president for the Opportunity House, which is the record owner, is seeking a special exception approval or a variance to establish 2 dwelling units in an existing vacant building. Variances from the minimal habitable space requirement, the number of permitted studio units, and the parking requirements and an appeal of the February 16th, 2022 zoning officer determination. The subject property is located in the MC Manufacturing Commercial Zoning District. Okay, would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
You swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Has notice for the appeal been given?
It has.
Mr. Price?
All right, I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay. Mr. Fumi, are you here? Let's see, I'm looking to see.
Yes, I am.
I'm,
On my screen, I'm right next to you, but
Oh, okay. All right. Do you want to swear him in, please?
You swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay.
Thank
You received a letter relative to the various issues with this property.
Bill, I believe he's represented by counsel. I believe-
Oh, well, I apologize for that. All right. Want to add her appearance?
Hi, Mr. Rabina. It is Liz McGovern here. I represent Opportunity House. We're with the law firm of Hartman, Valeriano, McGovern, and Lutz. And I'm prepared tonight to ask questions of Mr. Fume, Mr. Olson, and Mr. Hoffer. We also amended our application to include variance requests. I'm withdrawing the special exception request. That this is a use request for variance 600-811B. We also need a variance from 600-811A dimensional requirements. We are also seeking variances from section 600-1502A, 600-1602L, 600-1602M as in Matthew, and 600-1503B1. And I supplied those amendments to the zoning officer and to Attorney Price prior to this hearing.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Fume, I'm going to ask you questions, so if you could unmute yourself. Thank you.
And Ms. McGovern, we know that Mr. Fume is the executive director of Opportunity House, and he's been authorized to represent them. So we can just jump into the meat and potatoes here.
Perfect. And you also know that Opportunity House is a nonprofit. So Mr. Fume, who currently owns the property located at 449 North 2nd Street, City of Reading, Berks County, Pennsylvania?
I'm sorry, you're gonna,
Opportunity House.
Thank you. And are there any existing improvements on the property?
There's an existing building and a parking area.
Okay, and is the parking area currently paved?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Were those existing at the time that you purchased the property?
Yes.
And can you describe the existing building? And what I mean by that, is it vacant or is it being used right now?
No, it's vacant. It has been for many years.
Okay, we have marked Exhibit A3, which was displayed on the exhibit as an exterior rendering. And also we have a photograph on that exhibit. Is that photograph a true and correct copy of what the building looks like today?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And does the applicant, meaning Opportunity House, desire to reuse the unoccupied building to construct a transitional apartment building with a one-bedroom apartment on the first floor and a studio apartment on the second floor?
Yes. That is correct.
And has Opportunity House applied for and received grants from the state of Pennsylvania and the federal government for use in transforming this blighted building and the surrounding land into a habitable transitional residence?
Yes.
And is it Opportunity's House intention to reuse the property in a way that will be aesthetically pleasing and to also provide an important service to the community.
That is correct.
Do you believe that the proposed use would fit within the character of the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes, I do.
Have you, just to briefly describe this, Modesto, for the zoning hearing board, have you been working with the redevelopment authority on this project?
Yes, I have. It began when we actually acquired the property from the redevelopment board several years ago.
And are
Can
you,
repeat that? Can you repeat that? When
Liz,
you
Can you
acquired?
have him speak more directly into his mic? It's very garbled.
okay,
I will get as close as I can. How's that?
Oh, that's better.
Okay.
that's better. Can you explain the process again, what you're doing with the redevelopment authority for this surrounding area? If you
Yes,
could.
yes, like with many of the properties around our main building on North Second Street, we were partnered with the redevelopment authority for many years on removing blighted property and having the development authority.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. Can everybody who's not speaking right now, except for the board, mute themselves? Because we're getting feedback or there's some background stuff going on, and then we'll try to minimize it because the stenographer has a very, very difficult time taking this down if it's garbled. Okay? So just mute yourselves if you're not the board, Ms. McGovern or Mr. Fume. All right? Thank you so much. All right, Liz, back to you.
I'm not sure what the problem is. Hopefully this will work better now. But
It does. Can you, let's just start over, just briefly. Can you describe for the board what you're doing with the redevelopment authority regarding this property and surrounding properties?
yes, this is like many others we have partnered with the development authority on. Blighted property, there's a vacant lot one side of it, but previously there was a home on that property in between the existing building and the small lot. The redevelopment authority took down, removed that building that was owned by a woman for many years who lived in the neighborhood, who passed away, and it had just fallen into disrepair. So they acquired the property, they demolished it, and turned it over to us. And on that property included this building. This building, I've been the executive director of Opportunity House for almost 28 years. And in my entire time there, this building has never been in use. It's always been a vacant, abandoned building.
And I think you were saying that the property adjacent to it was demolished because it was in such disrepair, correct?
It was, yes, it was falling apart. Like many of the homes that the redevelopment authority acquired around our North Second Street campus over the past 10 or 15 years, and then turning them over to us. On that, we have several playgrounds. We have 2 playgrounds. We have a community garden. We have a technology center as part of our Second Street Learning Center. And so we've repurposed a lot of the properties in and around the North Second Street campus.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add? We have Lee Olson, the architect, that will be providing testimony, along with John Hoffert, who will be providing testimony regarding the land development plan.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Ms. McGovern, just for the listening audience and my learning here, the 400 block in North Second, would that be where the railroad tracks are up near the Jehovah's Witnesses or near Lowers Park Elementary School? Where would that be at? What are the cross?
We are down the block from about a block and a half from Lowers Park. This building.
Going north?
Yes, going north.
Okay, all right.
And this building butts up and actually is the last property before the railroad tracks.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir.
Steve, should I go ahead now with Lee, or does anyone have any questions of Mr. Fume?
Ask Mr. Rabina if board members have
Yeah.
questions.
How about board members? Do any of you have any questions? I can't see you, but we're not going to take the picture off. If any of you have any questions, please speak up. All right, hearing
I don't have
none.
any questions.
No, I'll wait.
Okay, proceed.
Well, does anybody in the audience have any questions for Mr. Fume? Is there anybody that signed in? Emily? Ms. Melendez? Is anybody signed in to ask questions?
Okay, sorry, I forgot I muted myself. But no, to my knowledge, no one has signed up for questions.
All right, then, I guess move to Mr. Hopper or Mr. Olson.
Also, Mr. Olson? Are you there?
Sorry, Liz. Yes, I was muted.
Thank you, thank you. Steve,
welcome.
is it okay to ask the board to recognize Mr. Olson as an expert?
Sure.
As-
Sure, and then have him sworn in.
Sure, okay.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And Mr. Olson, the board has recognized you as an expert in the field of architecture. Have you been hired by Opportunity House to perform services as an architect for this property located at 449 North Second Street?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know that Opportunity House currently owns the property and it's an unoccupied two-story concrete building, correct?
That is correct.
You heard Modesto testify that the Opportunity House intends to reuse this property to construct an apartment building, correct?
Yes,
And is the property located in the MC zoning district?
yes, it is.
We provided the zoning office with Exhibit A1. That was a copy of the MC district zone map. And I think they're going to share that on the screen. Is that a true and correct copy of Exhibit A1?
Yes, it is.
And that is the MC district zone map, correct?
That is correct.
Have you marked the location of the property on that map in blue and circled it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I did.
Is an adapted reuse a permitted use within the MC zoning district?
No, it is not.
So we're here tonight on the applicant's request for a variance from the zoning ordinance of the City of Reading, section 600-811B, in order to have an adapted use on this property. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We also marked the zoning hearing board application as A2. And I don't know if she can share that on the screen. Okay, there you go. Is that a true and correct copy of the application that you actually prepared for Opportunity House and filed with the city?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And have you created a document which shows the existing building and the proposed exterior rendering of the property, which we have marked as Exhibit A3?
Yes.
And looking at Exhibit A3, can you advise the zoning hearing board what that truly and accurately depicts?
Yes, the photograph on the left is as Modesto had previously testified. That is the existing building. It's a two-story building made out of concrete block. It has been up since Modesto has been there and probably before. It has absolutely no utilities in it. It does have the remnants of window frames. There is no glass. It is uninhabitable at this moment in time. And it was our goal to take the shell as it exists now, and judging from the character of the existing neighborhood that Modesto is in now, to create some sort of architectural metamorphosis to give the building some life and some character, as well as provide living spaces on the top and the lower floor.
And that drawing next to the actual building, is that what you anticipate the property to look like once it is completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm also asking you if you prepared a plan showing the exterior construction of the property, which we marked as Exhibit A4. And we'll wait till that comes up on the screen.
I'm sorry, it was Exhibit A4, correct?
That's correct. Thank you. And Lee, is Exhibit A4 and a true and correct copy of the exterior construction plan for this property?
Yes, it is.
Could you just briefly describe for the zoning hearing board what Exhibit A4 truly and accurately depicts?
Yes, this is commonly known in our industry as a part of a construction document set of drawings. We have taken the existing building that was field surveyed. On A3, Exhibit A3, you saw a rendering of what this could look like. We take that and we convert it into measured drawings. What you see are the 4 principal elevations of the building. In the upper right-hand corner is the one that you would see from the very end of North 2nd Street. It depicts the bay window in the front, the door on the right-hand side, the 2 windows at the top on the 2nd floor, and of course the stair that gets up to it. The entire block building will be insulated, both on the inside with drywall and then on the outside with an insulated siding. We are replacing the roof. We are putting in all new windows, new door, and we are creating a more residential quality looking building than what you saw in the original sketch.
Thank you, Lee. And did you also prepare an interior floor plan of the proposed building, which we marked as Exhibit A5? And if you could show Exhibit A5 on the screen for us. Thank you. Lee, did you see that Exhibit A5? Did you prepare that?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that show the interior floor plan of the proposed building?
Yes, it shows the 2 floors. The main floor, the first floor, is the one that has the bay window out of the western elevation, as you can see. There is a kitchen on the inside of it. There is a self-contained 3-fixture bathroom, and then there is a bedroom out the back, and it goes out to a porch area, which would be underneath the deck above. The 2nd floor, which would be, if you'd scroll down, you will see the 2nd floor. It is a efficiency or studio apartment. It too has a self-contained 3-fixture bathroom, closet space. The front room on the right side or the west side of the building will be a combination of living area and a studio fold-out couch. In the back is a full fixture kitchen with in-kitchen seating, and out the back is a porch which was built over the deck below. At the current time, and we'll get into that a little bit later, we were originally locating an access stair to go up to the 2nd floor onto the deck and then into the apartment, but that will be changed as per our discussion later on.
Okay. Well, why we have this exhibit up, Lee, can you just advise where the stairs will be relocated?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Liz. On the left side of the drawing, you will see an indication outside of the building that there is a deck with railings all around it. We're going to take that stair and we're going to take it and rotate it 90 degrees and put it on the left end of the porch, the deck rather, I'm sorry, so that the stairs would be accessed in the lower left-hand corner, and then you would go down to grade in the upper left-hand corner outside of the turnaround radius of the parking lot, which John will explain.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lee, do you believe there are unique physical circumstances or conditions on this property which create an unnecessary hardship in using the property for a use permitted within the MC district?
Yes, I do. The size of the property and the available building is too small.
Okay. And you're aware that we are also seeking variance relief from the dimensional requirements set forth in the MC district as per section 600-811A, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the zoning hearing board the square footage of the property?
Yes, it's 7,452 square feet.
And pursuant to section 600-811A of the zoning ordinance, what is the minimum lot size within the MC zoning district?
20,000 square feet.
And what is the minimum lot width within the MC zoning district?
80 feet clear.
And what is the existing lot width of this property?
62.79 feet clear.
And what are the front yard and side yard setback requirements within the MC district?
Front yard is 15 feet, side yard is 10 feet.
And can you tell the zoning hearing board what the existing front yard setback and side yard setback of the existing building?
Yes, the front yard is 0 feet. The side yard is 1.1 feet.
You would agree with me, Lee, that these are existing dimensional nonconformities, correct?
Yes,
In your professional opinion, is it possible to develop the property for a use permitted by the zoning ordinance due to the hardship created by the size and location of the property?
no,
And is it your opinion, Lee, that the hardship was not created by the applicant?
yes, it is.
And is it your expert opinion, sir, that because of the size and location of the property, a variance is needed in order to make reasonable use of this property?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to show you, and we're almost done with your testimony, what we previously marked for the zoning board as Exhibit A6. And if you could put A6 up for us. Thank you. Lee, is this a true and correct copy of the aerial site map which depicts the property and the surrounding properties?
Yes, it is.
And does this site map show that there are residential units and single-family row homes in the area around the subject property?
Yes, it does.
So by converting this property into a residential use, do you believe that this use would fit within the character of the neighborhood?
Absolutely.
And do you believe if the zoning hearing board would grant the variance, it would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or be detrimental to the public welfare in any way?
No, it would not.
In fact, is it your opinion that the proposed use would improve the neighborhood by converting a blighted building into an aesthetically pleasing building that provides a meaningful benefit to the community?
Yes, I do.
And lastly, do you believe that the adapted reuse of the property represents the minimum variance relief that will represent the least modification possible to this applicant?
Yes, I do.
I have nothing further of this witness.
Okay. Do any board members have any questions of this witness? All right, hearing none. Mr. Price, any questions?
No, sir.
Emily, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you. Our last witness is John Hoffert. John, are you there?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Okay, thank you, John.
All right, will you please raise your right hand?
I am.
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your full name and spell it for me.
John W. Hoffert, Hoff as in Frank, ERT.
Thank you.
Steve, will the board stipulate that John is qualified as an expert in the field of professional surveying to testify in the zoning hearing board proceeding tonight?
Yes.
And potentially other things, but yes, for that purpose, yes.
Thank you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
John, were you hired by the applicant to prepare a minor land development plan with regards to this property located at 449 North Second Street, which is the subject of the zoning hearing?
Yes, I was.
And is it your understanding that the applicant desires to utilize the property for an adapted reuse project to convert an existing building into an apartment building?
Yes, I did.
Is it your understanding, John, that this property is located in the MC zoning district?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to show you what we marked as Exhibit A7, and I'll wait until we pull that up. Thank you very much. Is that a true and correct copy of the minor land development plan that you prepared for the applicant regarding the proposed project?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe briefly to the zoning hearing board what Exhibit A7 shows, what we're proposing to do?
Yes, for the most part, it's two different views. The top or the northern part of the plan shows the existing conditions. It shows that there's an existing building with a small porch roof out the back, a gravel parking area that goes all the way up to the southern adjoining property owner. And at the time of survey, the easternmost portion was very brush-like in condition with scattered trees. And they have since mowed and cut down some of those trees to improve the view. The lower portion of the southern half of the plan shows what the overall proposed structures will be. It's the reconversions of the two-story building, taking down the existing porch roof out to the, what I'll say, the east of the building, and placing a new 12 by 12 deck on that. The stairs as shown on this plan will be, as described by Mr. Olson, will be relocated as not to be within the 22-foot wide aisle. We'll be creating 6 off-street parking spaces. 1 will meet ADA requirements for van accessibility. And then to the east of the parking deck would be the proposed stormwater basin, or controls relative to addressing and handling the increase in stormwater runoff.
Okay, so are they proposing, just to clarify, 7 parking spaces with 1 being an ADA space?
No, actually, we originally had 7 parking spaces. But
Okay,
then due to the zoning officer's review letter, we realized that it would be our requirement to add 1 ADA parking space. When you only provide 1 ADA parking space, it must be van accessible. So basically, I'm sorry to say, the wheelchair area or the loading area of an ADA space basically takes up one of the original design parking spaces. So we've
Okay.
reduced it from 7 to 6 spaces.
okay, thank you for that clarification. And does the applicant intend to pave this parking area?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Section 61502A of the ordinance requires all private parking areas to be constructed to the standards in section 600-1602 of the ordinance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is it true that applicants will require a variance from section 600-1502A because applicant cannot comply with sections 600-1602L and 600-1602M?
That
as
is
a matter?
correct. Yes.
So let's first discuss section 600-1602L. Does that require no part of any surface parking area for more than 5 vehicles to be closer than 10 feet to any dwelling?
That is correct.
And we're seeking a variance from that section, correct?
Yes. Yes, we are.
And Exhibit A7 shows that the paved surface of the parking area abuts the existing building, correct?
Yes, it goes directly to the property line.
The proposed parking area exists at the same location of the prior parking area, correct?
Currently, yes, that's correct, that it is all gravel in that area next to the building as shown, yes.
And so you would agree that this is an existing dimensional nonconformity, correct?
That is correct.
And due to the location of the existing building, the location of the prior parking area, and the small size of the property, is it your professional opinion that it would be impossible for the applicant to design a parking area that would provide sufficient parking spaces and which would not have any surface area abutting the existing building?
That is correct.
So is a variance allowing the surface parking area of the paved parking area consisting of the prior parking area to abut the dwelling, the minimum variance relief necessary?
Yes, in my opinion, it is.
I know that's a lot of work.
Did you even understand that question? Mr.
I don't even know if
No,
I
I-
understood it myself. But basically, there's no way that we can comply with section 1602L because of the pre-existing nonconformities.
There is another way that spaces could be created, but in all fairness, none that would produce at least the 6 spaces that we've shown. You could go in and parallel park to the street, but now you're only going to have 3 parking spaces, which would not meet code relative to 2 residential units. So this is the minimum necessary relief to produce 6 parking spaces. That's correct.
Thank you. And you believe due to the physical conditions of the property that we're dealing with today, that the hardship was not created by the applicant because of the pre-existing nonconformity. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And if I may just add one dimension to this to give credence, the distance between the two-story building on this property and the row home to the south, there is only 40 feet between the buildings. Therefore, it has to be developed in this manner as the minimum relief necessary to create the parking space.
And if the zoning hearing board would grant the variance from this section 1602L, do you believe it would alter the character of the neighborhood in any way?
Not at all.
Let's go to the next section, section 1602M as in Matthew of the ordinance. It requires that all parking areas of 5 spaces or more to be adequately illuminated for security purposes between the hours of sunset and sunrise. Are you familiar with that section, John?
Yes, I am.
And we're seeking a variance from that section, correct?
Yes.
Could you tell us if we plan to do any lighting on this property? I know we don't want to produce a lighting plan, correct? But could you describe this to the zoning hearing board, what type of lighting we intend to propose?
If I may, that's correct. We don't want this to be a shopping center parking lot that's lit up completely so that you can see every feature within it. I think that would take away from the community. What we plan on doing is affixing lights to the existing building that will shine and produce certain amount of foot candles that will extend out into the parking area without fully lighting it at night. But it will be able to see a person. You will be able to see from the building, the various cars. It just won't not be lit up to any great extent.
And section 1602F, as in Frank of the zoning ordinance, requires minimum aisle width for two-way traffic to be 22 feet for this angle of parking, correct?
Yes, it does.
Do you have any concerns that the stairs presently leading to the second floor would encroach into the parking area to provide less than that 22 feet requirement?
It would have been a concern, however, as testified by Mr. Olson, the stairs are so not to diminish the 22-foot aisle width. They will be relocated to the east of the 12 by 12 deck.
Okay. And also, is it your understanding that the applicant intends, and I just want to go back to the lighting, to run a line into a base against the southern neighbor's property in order to put up a light STD?
That is another option in which we could light the parking deck more intensely.
Okay, and if we do that, there is no risk of a lighting intrusion into the neighbor's home if the applicant puts up this light, is that correct?
Correct, and I say that with surety only because the existing row home to the south of this property has no windows nor doors on that northern side of the building. Therefore, there would be no light intrusion or pollution into the southern joiner.
Okay, so the proposed lighting that you previously discussed, do you believe that it will provide adequate lighting for pedestrian convenience, security, and safety during the evening hours?
Yes, I do.
And do you believe that a lighting plan, we are requesting a variance to not submit a lighting plan, would be unreasonable and unnecessary for this type of project?
I agree.
We are also requesting a variance, John, from section 600-1503B1 of the ordinance, is that correct?
Yes.
And that requires residential driveways to not be less than 8 feet or more than 14 feet in width, is that correct?
Yes, that's the section.
What is the width of the proposed driveway as depicted on Exhibit A7?
We're proposing a 20-foot wide two-way entrance.
And can you describe the location of the proposed driveway as it's depicted?
Yes, it's set so that, number one, we can park along the southern property owner with the parking spaces, but it's set to optimize the best sight distance at the intersection of Lafayette and North 2nd Street. We can still maintain visibility around the corner at Lafayette good enough to achieve safe sight distance, both in a left and in a right direction. The reason that we went to a 24-foot wide aisle width at the entrance is that just in case one car is exiting and one car is entering the parking lot, they can do so unencumbered.
In your professional opinion, John, do you think it would be possible to design a usable and safe driveway with a width less than 24 feet?
Not in this particular case, no. If
Okay.
this was only one residential unit, that might be acceptable, and I'm sure that would be in keeping with the rules and regulations of the zoning ordinance. But so that you have 2 units, I do believe that this is the minimum relief necessary to obtain this size parking area.
And due to the physical conditions of the property, John, do you believe the hardship in designing this driveway was not created by the applicant?
That's correct, it was not.
Would this variance in any way alter the character of the neighborhood?
No, actually, it's going to make it nicer, prettier, as they say.
And lastly, we are requesting a variance from section 600-1503A, correct?
Yes, we are.
And you actually spoke with the city engineer and determined that section 600-1503A requires all private driveways to have clear sight triangles as set forth in section 600-1303 of the zoning ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And is it true that applicant will require a variance from section 600-1503A because we cannot comply with section 600-1303B?
That is correct.
Does section 600-1303B require a clear sight triangle between 30 inches above curb level and 10 feet above curb level to be located within the triangular area formed by the street right-of-way line? The
Yes.
private driveway, I'm almost done. The
Okay.
private driveway paving and a line connecting them at points 10 feet from their intersection.
That is correct. That is the stated section.
And have you determined where these clear sight triangles would be located on the property?
Yes, and they are shown on Exhibit A7. If you'll note, in the northern clear sight triangle is within the 2-story block building as it exists today. And because of the existing building prohibiting view, we cannot comply with the section fully.
So the clear sight triangle actually goes through the existing building, correct?
Yes, it does.
So it's impossible to provide a clear sight triangle on this property.
That is correct. However, I will say, even though that the clear sight triangle is encumbered by the existing building, as you go up towards the curb line at North 2nd Street, you have actually very good visibility looking left and right, regardless of whether the clear sight triangle complies or not.
Thank you, John. And lastly, you're aware that the zoning officer's letter indicated that the setbacks must be shown on the plan for the new deck that the applicant is proposing.
That is correct.
Did you prepare the plan to show that by installing the deck, applicant is actually improving the current existing dimensional nonconformity of the covered porch that is there today?
Yes.
And can you just describe for the zoning hearing board using Exhibit A7 how we are not increasing the dimensional nonconformity with the new deck?
If you look at Exhibit A7 and go to the northern view, the existing condition plan, it's very tiny, but from the covered roof to the property line is 1.9 feet. And that's the distance. I'm pointing. I'm sorry, you can't see me point. So that's exactly where it is. Thank you. So when we take down that original roof that's on the back of the structure today, and we reduce the size of it and create on the proposed condition plan a 12 by 12 deck, the dimension from the corner of that deck to the property line is 3.3. So we are therefore increasing the existing nonconformity to be better conforming, if I may say it that way.
And all the variances that we are requesting tonight, do you believe that they will actually, if the zoning hearing board approves them, it would be beneficial for the community and it would not alter the character of the neighborhood in any way.
That's correct. I agree with that statement.
I have nothing further. Thank you. I would just
Okay.
ask for my exhibits to be moved into evidence, A1 through A7.
So moved.
All right, now, does anybody from the board have any questions of Mr. Hoffer?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, I've been dazzled by the footwork here. I should have stopped you earlier, but I didn't want to jump in. I'm looking at this last drawing. Now, boil it down without all the footwork. Tell me what is the final, I really don't understand it. What is your final offer of parking? The total number of parking spaces. And I'm looking at this, the last drawing we have up. Tell me what is the final plan, final offer?
We have 6 proposed parking spaces, sir.
Okay, and that's well within with the 2 unit. Now,
Yes.
looking at that drawing, I assume that's the double width entrance. Now, when a person exits with respect to the line of sight, will they be backing out onto the street or having to look out from to the rear, out of the rear window, or it won't be that they'll be able to look out their front windshield?
What, if I
It'll be
may?
it'll be a back out situation.
No, I'm sorry, it will not be.
Okay.
What's going to happen is they'll be backing out of the parking spaces into the 22-foot wide aisle.
I see
And
the
then they'll
space.
be turning so that the rear of the vehicle will be heading in an easterly direction. Therefore, when they stop and pull forward, they'll be driving in a westerly direction out to North Second Street. There will be no backing out onto the main street, only
Okay,
backing into the 22-foot wide aisle as proposed.
and
for
that
safety
won't
reasons.
be a problem with respect to the at the beginning spaces, but the ones that are closest to the I can't read, it's so small, going way to the end there. Those people obviously they won't be able to back. You understand my question? The first one, they can back out, turn the car and then go forward. But the last space coming in toward the left, how are they going to reorient their car to be facing in
Okay.
the right direction?
If I may, when you
ahead.
look at the number 6, that there's 6 parking spaces, then the westernmost space, you'll see it has cross-hatched lines to the left.
I see it.
That is the ADA parking space on the right side, and that's where the wheelchair would exit a vehicle into that cross-hatched area. Therefore, there'll be no cars or vehicles parked there. So there'll be plenty of room for the last actual space, which is the handicap, to back into the 22-foot wide aisle and then head straight out to the road in a forward motion.
That's it. And one other question,
Yes, sir.
quite a bit about the lighting. How does the rest of the neighborhood, forget about your building right now. What does the neighborhood look like right now at night? Did you go out there? Are there street lights? What does it look like?
Farther to the south, I'm going to say 2 row home units from our property line. You'll see that there's the name on the plan, Mercedes del Carpio. I think that's how you pronounce it, Carpio. Right in front of that particular property, there is a street standard with a street light on it. Other than that, there are no official lighting existing in the road of North Second Street other than the street lights, and that is the closest street light, and it is shown and labeled on the plan. It's a
Okay,
little
well-
blurry, but it does say street light.
Okay, so if we would make a suggestion to have some motion lighting so that as you said, you don't want to have a parking lot situation like you're at Kmart. You want to have some lighting. Main thing is when they exit and enter, perhaps some kind of a motion situation might help. Just would suggest that.
We would accept that as a condition, motion lighting. That's fine.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, any other board members have any questions? All right, Mr. Price, question?
None.
None? All
None.
right. Emily, questions?
No questions.
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions? Just questions? All right, hearing none, you can proceed.
I'm done. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, now, anybody in the audience have any final questions? Anybody on the board? All right, seeing none in either case, we'll close this appeal.
No, anybody have any testimony either for?
Oh,
or
yeah,
against?
that's true.
Does anybody have any testimony in favor of this application? Hearing none. Anybody have any testimony against this application? I see none. So now you can close it, Mr. Rubino.
Okay, so we'll close this appeal and a decision will be issued at next month's meeting. You need not be present. The decision will be mailed to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too, Ms.
Good
McGovern.
night.
Thank you.
Mr. Rubino, can we have a 5-minute break?
Yes,
Okey dokey.
okay, we'll do 5 minutes.
Good.
I'll tell you when to go.
Are we back? Okay, Sandy's here, Steve's here, Emily's here. All right, let's see. Tom, Jeff, all right. Okay. The next appeal before us is 2022-15. It involves 1010 and 1012 Lancaster Avenue. Ryan Properties, record owner, is seeking an appeal of the February 8th, 2022 zoning officer determination to convert the existing property to 1 commercial and 6 residential units. The applicant is also seeking a use variance for the conversion of the single-family dwelling into a low-rise apartment building. A variance from the 10-foot wide buffer strip and a minimum 10% of the total area designated for active or passive recreational purposes. The variance from the relevant dimensional variances. The subject properties are located in the CH Commercial Highway Zoning District. Okay.
Mr.
Would you swear
Chairman,
in? Pardon?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this property was the subject of a prior zoning approval. And they've changed now to go from 5 dwelling units to 6 dwelling units and 1 retail unit. You previously approved 5 dwelling units and 1 retail. So I think Ms. Dietrich is representing the applicants. And I think the only issue would be the additional dwelling units. Since they were already approved, we can incorporate the prior decision.
Okay, yes, and I do recall that, and I think the rest of the board would recall that. Why don't we swear in our zoning officer first?
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Excuse me, it's the zoning officer that we're swearing in. All right, has notice for this appeal been given? Okay.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Price.
Thank you. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended. Do you want to enter your appearance, Ms. Dietrich?
I will do so. I am attorney Barbara Kern Dietrich, and I represent the applicant Ryan Properties LLC.
Ms. Dietrich, did you hear my discussion earlier with the chairman with respect to the prior zoning approval?
I did. Mr. Price, may I submit an offer of proof for expediency purposes?
I think that
Related.
would be appreciated by the board. Yes, sir, certainly.
Very good. And also, Mr. Rabin, I have 2 witnesses. I don't know if you want to swear them in advance or wait in
Why
case
don't
there
we
are
swear
questions.
them in? We'll swear them in advance, then that way we can just keep things moving. So
Very
please.
good, very good. I have, my first witness is Jim Sarro. He's a licensed architect with Muhlenberg Green, and he prepared the architectural drawings that were submitted with the application.
Okay. You want to swear him in?
Where is he?
No, there he is.
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Rabin, I also have a principal of the applicant, Mr. Sanjay Kapoor.
Okay. Yeah, we'll swear him in. Go ahead.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear this testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, proceed.
Very good. For a frame of reference, the buildings in question, the property in question, it's the former Stanley's Barber Shop on Lancaster Avenue. It is adjacent to Threshold Rehabilitation. And as Mr. Price stated, the board did grant prior zoning approval to the owner at that time, which was Stanley Hector, and for his apartments and his 1 commercial space. It's my understanding at the time that Mr. Hector's submission was for 6 apartments, but they did not meet the minimum habitable space for those apartments. And that's why it was reduced to 5. My client or the applicant purchased the property in 2021. Mr. Hector had run into some financial problems and the property has been vacant for about 2 years. He had obtained the appropriate permits and had started the work, but he ran out of money. For reasons unknown to us, although we suspect out of anger, he did withdraw his zoning permit after the agreement of sale was signed with the applicant. At the time also, he did consolidate the properties onto a single deed, which is one of the conditions of your prior zoning approval, but unfortunately we discovered that, again, for reasons unknown, he redeeded the properties back. So now that they're separately, they have separate UPIs, property identification numbers. The applicant wishes to use one commercial space, which are uses by right in the CH zoning district. It's marked as a retail space on the plan, but there are other uses available in the CH district. It could be offices, it could be personal service, or it could be retail. The applicant's floor plan as submitted with the application shows 6 apartments, and all 6 of those apartments do meet the minimum habitable area. There are 2 one-bedroom apartments and 4 two-bedroom apartments. They all have emergency access to the parking lot, which is in the rear. The parking lot has 12 spaces, including handicap space, 9 spaces for the residential use, and 3 spaces that can be dedicated to the commercial use, depending upon what that ends up being. Also note that if necessary, or if the board happens to find that that's not the correct number, there is a sort of a set aside under section 1603H1, where if the commercial or the non-residential use is only open for the hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., then we can reduce the number of, or the amount of parking by 20%. And if the board finds that that's a requirement, we can certainly ask, accept a condition for those business hours. We're here in a use variance, as was the previous zoning application, because single family conversions to apartments are not permitted in the R3 zoning district. So that therefore we need that use variance. The property is incomplete. It needs serious renovations. My client will need to obtain the appropriate building permits to continue the work. Again, like the previous zoning application, we were also asking for variances under 1101K, not requiring a 10-foot buffer strip because there's simply no room next to the threshold building.
Right.
And also a variance from section 1101L to reserve 10% space for active recreation. Again, there just simply isn't any room on the properties for that, although we note there is a small courtyard to the rear of the property separating the residence from the parking lot. So the applicant, my client, he just wants to finish this property. He will do it in a quality job. Everything, all the apartments meet the minimum habitable space. And by allowing him to proceed with this, he's only going to make the neighborhood look that much better, provide that housing for folks. And finally, we submit that the zoning office has said that my client needs an annexation plan. I would ask the board if there's any way that he not have to go through an annexation plan and simply redeed the properties onto a single deed as it was initially after the first zoning hearing. if the zoning board would consider that, so he can just finish the much needed work that needs to be finished on this property. And that's all I have for my offer of proof.
All right. Any board members have any questions at this point? Mr. Price?
I don't, based upon the prior hearing, and I remember it well, it seems like they're not asking for anything more other than one additional dwelling unit, and it complies with the habitable space requirements under the zoning ordinance.
Emily? Emily, any questions? Okay. All right, anybody in the audience have any questions? Apparently not. All right, you can proceed.
That unless we have questions of the witnesses, I think that closes her case in chief.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right. Then if we have nothing from anybody in the audience or from the board, we'll close this appeal. We'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be mailed to you, and we thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. All right, the next matter.
Everybody, appreciate it.
Okay. The next matter before us is Appeal 2022-16. It is 211 West Greenwich Street. Arrows Christian Academy, which is the record owner, is seeking a special exception approval to establish a school in an existing church. And the subject property is located in an R3 residential zoning district. All right, would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, has notice for this appeal been given?
It has.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the zoning application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the City of Reading zoning ordinance as amended.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant represented by counsel?
Yes, good evening. My name is Malin Boyer, and I am the attorney that represents the applicant.
Okay, good evening. Do you have people you're going to have testify? If you do, we'll swear them in at this point, and then you can proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Martin is here as a witness for the applicant.
And are you going to do an offer of proof, Mr. Boyer?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right. We'll swear in Mr. Martin.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Boyer.
Thank you. As noted, the applicant is seeking a special exception pursuant to 600-804B4M to operate a private Christian school in an R3 zoning district. I would, at this time, ask that we be able to amend our application to also include a variance from section 600-1603 I1. We learned today that from the zoning administrator that the off-site parking lot of the applicant is greater than 300 feet away from the school, from the church building itself. And we would therefore request to amend our application to not only include the special exception, but also to include a variance from the noted section, given the distance of the parking lot for the church.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think with respect to that issue, it would cause any person who may have been interested in this hearing to be prejudiced if it's allowed to be amended. So I would recommend that you grant the amended request for a variance.
Unless I hear any objection from a board member, I would agree with that.
Okay, it's so amended, Mr. Blair.
Thank you. And at this time, I would make an offer of proof. The applicant, Aris Christian Academy, purchased the 211 West Greenwich Street property in December of 2021. Along with that, it purchased a property located at 613 Lincoln Street. At the West Greenwich Street property is an existing church. The 613 Lincoln Street property is an existing paved parking lot. It has 73 parking spaces, and that parking lot will be used for the church. The current use is a church and Sunday school and some events. The applicant is seeking to have a private Christian school also located at the church. The applicant seeks, as noted in its application, to use the parking lot for the pickup and drop-off point for those attending the school itself. So the parking lot itself is already existing. The church is already existing. The applicant is not seeking to do anything to the parking lot or the church structure beyond some cosmetic changes. The applicant wants to, if possible, open the school by the fall of 2022. It is planning to have 20 students from city Mennonite churches going to this particular location. The planned time for the school is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a 9-month school year. There's a plan to have 8 staff members, and the alleyway running from 613 Lincoln to 211 West Greenwich Street is the planned path for the students and employees and staff to go from the parking lot to the church for the school, and then vice versa. It's going to be a primary and secondary school. There is no plan for any illumination for nighttime athletic activities. And it's notable that the church previously had a Head Start program at this particular location. So as noted, the applicant is seeking a special exception to operate a private Christian school at this existing church building at 211 West Greenwich Street. And that's my offer of proof.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's start with board members. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Boyer? Any board members?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
In reading this over, I wasn't quite sure. Are other religious denominations or other churches going to be having services in the main church part, or is it just you?
There are other churches that do use this property. Is that correct, Mr. Martin?
Yeah, if I could speak to that. Currently, there's 2 different other churches using the building for church use. There had been 3 when the previous owners were in it, and there's potential for a 3rd group to use the building as a church as well. So it is being continued to be used for church services also.
Would you be using it also as a church?
So the church that we have our nonprofit status through is also looking at using the building for their services as well. Currently, we are not. That church is not, but in the future, we're hoping to use it as well. So there would once again be 3 churches using the building.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other board members? I have one question. You mentioned in here that you were going to run a non-licensed school, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. Is it going to be like a charter school? Or I believe you represent the Mennonite denomination. Do you people have your own rules and regulations that are approved by the state? I didn't quite understand what you were doing.
Yes, thank you. So according to the Department of Ed, there's different classifications of schools. So the one is a non-public, non-licensed school. So essentially what that means is that we don't have to have certified teachers through the Department of Ed. So it's a classification of a parochial school, a religious school, but it's still, you still get your normal diploma just like any other school.
Okay, so it'd be a little bit like the Amish run their schools and things like that. So, okay. that answers
If
my
you're
question.
if you're familiar with Fairview Christian School over on
Yes.
14th Street, that would also be a non-public, non-licensed Christian school. So we'd actually be somewhat connected to them. Their church would be helping to participate in getting this school started as well.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your information. All right, anybody else on the board? If not, Mr. Price,
I have no questions.
Emily?
How many students are you proposing?
So currently, the plan is to start K through 5th grade. And we're hoping for roughly about 20 students to start with. And then the goal is to add a grade every year. So really approximately 100 student max would probably fit in the building nicely. So that's kind of our rough cap. But the hope is to start with approximately 20 students in grades K through 5th grade.
Okay, then I would ask for the board that to consider if they do approve this request, to add a condition that once the student count reaches at least 50, that they would need to go through land development to review and resolve any impacts.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I think I was muted. Can you hear me?
No, you're fine. I can hear you now.
I have a question. In
Go
fact,
ahead.
two, very brief. It was mentioned that it's a little bit more than 300 feet to the parking lot. Are you going to be providing any transport? It sounds like it's a nice straightforward walk, considering any transportation. For how old are the kids going to be? Is it, if it's a football field away, is that a concern for you?
So the 300 feet, as I understand, is from the parking lot to the entrance of the school. So in that, they're going to have to cross a one-way street in order to cross the street from the parking lot. So the goal is to have a staff member or two be there when the students are arriving, and then also when they get picked up from their parents would also be assisting in that process as well.
Okay, I mean, it's just a nice little walk. It is a football field away.
Yeah.
Now, with respect to there's other churches going to be using it. Are you going to, there's going to be 8 faculty members. Are you going to clearly identify the parking so that your staff members don't take spaces closer to the church? You're going to clearly identify parking for them and reserve particularly for them and not for perhaps other people in the church. Are you leasing any property, any spaces to other things other than churches, to other people in that area, since it is a highly dense area?
Correct. So previously the parking lot was not being leased at all, but community people were parking in there for free. Currently, we started leasing some of the parking spaces to the community members parked around there. So right now we have 10 spaces marked specifically for members that are coming to the church for use of the building, and then also later for employees or pick up and drop off by parents. Depending on, we obviously, as the school grows or expands, we're going to have to continue to have more parking for the church and the school. But currently, the way it is, there's 10 spots that are specifically marked for use by the building.
Okay, that's a fairness issue to the rest of the neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience have any questions of Mr. Boyer or Mr. Martin? Okay. Anybody in the audience? Anybody in the audience want to speak for or against the application? No, I don't see anybody. So if there's nothing else, Mr. Boyer or Mr. Martin, anything else you'd like to add?
Maybe
I-
I'll just, sorry,
Go
maybe
ahead.
I'll just speak one more to what the use of the building is for the school. So there's 4 Mennonite churches within the city that are helping form our board for the school. And so the first priority is kind of for students that are connected to one of those 4 Mennonite churches. And then the second objective is for students living within walking distance of the church. And then from there, it expands out to any parent who wants a Christian education for their child. So that's kind of the emphasis or focus for the student base.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, I will close this appeal. A decision will be made at next month's meeting. A decision will be mailed to you if you're not present. And we thank you all for your input and your information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Attorney Boyer, can I have your address, please?
2 Meridian Boulevard, Missing, 19610.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
Thank
Okay.
you. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. All right. Sandy, are you still okay?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. The next is Appeal 2022-17.
Now, Mr. Chairman, if I may interject, this property was the subject of a prior decision, and it was denied about 4 or 5 years ago based upon the number of available parking units. I think if you see the analysis from the staff, that apparently the parking issue has been resolved as long as access is allowed from the front of the property to the rear of the property. It would meet all the requirements. So I think based upon what we've done in some other hearings, you can incorporate the prior testimony and ask the applicant if they're going to allow access from the front of Woodward Street to the rear and provide proof of reserved parking.
I think that we could do that. I think that would expedite things.
Mr. Chairman, I need a clarification here on the staff report. This is why I talked to Mr. Fox too. I thought we had denied that. On the background, it says on June 14th, 2017, the zoning board approved the special exception for appeal 2017-26. And what am I not hearing here?
There was 2 appeals. There was the first appeal in 2017, which was appeal number 2017-26. That was approved for 2 dwelling units for an adaptive reuse. They came back in 2018 with appeal number 2018-30 to add an additional dwelling unit in that building where the adaptive reuse was approved. And so per the decision letter, they would need to come back to do an expansion, and that's what was denied.
That was the denial. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry if I confused you, Mr. Patel.
No, that's not hard to do.
Okay. All right. Is this applicant represented by counsel?
No.
No.
Okay, all right. Let me just read this so everybody knows what's going on here. We kind of lost track here a minute. All right. Fatima, and sorry, I apologize for my mispronunciation, is seeking a special exception approval to expand the adaptive reuse of an existing building and convert a vacant former commercial space into a dwelling unit. Pap Ventures LLC is the record owner, and the subject property is located in the R3 zoning district. Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay. We'll swear in our zoning officer first.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear this testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Has notice for this appeal been given?
It has.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price?
All right, I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended. I think we should swear the applicant in, and then I could probably cut to the chase here.
Yes. Do you want to swear in the applicant next, please?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear this testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Price, I'll let you take it.
All right, it's Mrs. Ansari.
Yes.
Mrs. Ansari, you were previously granted approval to have 2 dwelling units at the rear of your property that I think had been used previously for either rug repairs or rug manufacturing. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you came back to the board and you wanted to have 3 units and that was denied, correct?
Yes.
And you took an appeal from that, correct?
Yes.
Right. And then that appeal went away due to the timing issue and whatnot. And you understood that the denial of the 3 units was a lack of off-street parking, correct?
At the beginning, I applied, I asked only for 2 units because.
Right. Well, what I'm asking you is that when the 3 units were denied, it was because you didn't have enough off-street parking, right? That would be a yes.
I don't think so. It wasn't like that. At the beginning, I applied and it was okay. But the second times when I want to add to it, that space, there was the big, huge machine.
Okay.
So
we let focus in on my questions, okay, please? All right. So you need to provide enough off-street parking for
Yes.
your tenants. And you're going to agree to provide 3 off-street parking spaces if you're allowed to have 3 units there, correct?
yes, yes,
Okay. And you understand that the only way that you can comply with the zoning ordinance is that you have to allow the tenants access to the rear building through
Yeah.
the front on Woodward Street, correct?
Yes.
yes,
And you're going to agree to that, right?
yes, I do.
Okay, so you will provide a written lease for 3 parking spaces to the zoning officer, and you will agree to provide access to the rear of the property through the front at Woodward Street, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
All right. Does any board members have any questions about this? Because this is a little bit different than what we normally deal with. Any board members? All right. Emily, do you have any question?
No questions.
Mr. Price, I think you're done, but I'll ask you again anyway.
I can't think of any. Thank you.
All right.
I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
Is it possible to reach the back of this property from Woodward Street?
This is something that there is a back alley that they get access to that apartment and also from the front. But I made 2 car garage. The 2 apartment upstairs has 2 car garage, and I rented 2 extra space from
the restaurant is called the Grill and Chill. And I have been paying for past 3 years for one, and then city said I need 1.5 parking for the apartment if I want to finish that. So I added another one recently. So I have two parking from this restaurant area to the parking.
Mr. Price, did you say that she needs to provide access to the rear from Woodward Street?
Well, otherwise it would exceed the 300-foot requirement. So all she has to do is allow the people that are parking in the third-party lot to walk either on the side of her building or whatever to get to the rear.
Okay, so not automobile access, but foot traffic access.
Foot
Okay,
traffic.
all right, now I'm okay. I understand.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions.
All right, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions of this applicant? Seeing none. Anybody in the audience wish to testify for or against granting this application?
I do.
Your name and address?
My name is Muhammad A. Ansari, retired professor at Penn State. My address is 28 Eagle Lane, Reading, PA 19607.
Okay, you're gonna have to speak slowly and clearly, sir.
Okay.
Will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to say that my wife has been working diligently and tirelessly on this project for probably 5 or 6 years. And she has been turning the property that was really nothing much a carpet cleaning works to 2 rental units. And right now there is 1 vacant one in the first floor that she's trying to turn into an apartment. I think we've had great tenants. It's a great addition to the city of Reading. And we will provide the parking requested, and also the access from across the street to the area in the back is also granted. So I would greatly appreciate the board members, their willingness to have this hearing tonight. Much appreciated. And I would like to appeal that they find this process useful and then grant an approval to this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Unless anybody has anything else to add, we'll close this appeal. We'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be mailed to you, and we thank you for your input, and good evening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Okay. The last appeal for this evening is Appeal 2022-18. It's 1001 Scott Street. It's the Reading Housing Authority record owner is seeking the special exception approval to use an existing building as a daycare center with an office space and a variance from the buffer strip requirements. The subject property is located in the R3 residential zoning district. Would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
You swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Has notice of this appeal been given?
It has.
Thank you. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended. I believe this applicant is represented by counsel, Mr. Edwin Stock. So if he is on, if he can enter his appearance.
All right. Do you want to enter your appearance, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Edwin Stock. I'm an attorney licensed to practice in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I represent Reading Housing Authority.
Okay. If you're going to have people testify, do you want to note those people and we will swear them in at this time, and then you can just keep moving?
Right, I have two witnesses. One is Randy Doutrick of Doutrick Engineering and Theodore Vidoc of Hamel Architects. So I know they're on. I see them.
Yes. Okay, do you want to swear them in, Sandra?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Stock, go ahead.
Thank you. Is it possible to put up the two plans that were attached to the application?
Yes,
And
one
Are you
second.
doing an offer of proof, Mr. Stock? And then if people have questions of your witnesses, we can deal with that.
Well, I can certainly do that, Mr. Price. So the building in question is a decommissioned boiler house. At one time, the Housing Authority at its Oak Brook Homes development provided the heat to the residential dwelling units from a central boiler plant. A number of years ago, the central boiler plant was decommissioned and individual heating units were placed in the 500 plus individual residence units. The Housing Authority has no community space currently at its Oak Brook Homes development, which is its largest family development. So it has plans to develop the decommissioned boiler house into a community center, which would include a 24-hour daycare. The boiler house, I mean, these were rather large boilers, so it's a building that accommodates 3 floors. So the plans are to divide the boiler house into a 3-level building with the daycare and office space on those, I think the lower 2 levels. This will be a tremendous benefit to the community. Where the central boiler plant is located, it's not, it's within the Oak Brook Homes housing development. And it's really a rather exciting project for the Housing Authority.
So if there was a new parking proposed, which I think there is, obviously to accommodate that 24-hour daycare, it's really not going to impact neighboring properties because they're all owned by the Reading Housing Authority. So the buffer strip is maybe irrelevant in your opinion?
Yeah, the buffer strip is sort of what I would say is a relatively minor technical issue. The way the parking is proposed, and Mr. Doutrick can explain this better than I, but the way the parking is proposed, the lights are actually going to any headlights would actually shine on the building and not out onto the street. So requiring a buffer of plantings would actually, not be necessary and would actually be somewhat detrimental to what they're proposing to do.
All right. I didn't have any other questions, but I'll leave it to the board.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions at this point?
Nope.
All right.
No.
Anybody in the audience have any questions at this point? All right, Emily.
If I could, I'd just like to point out one point about the parking. The part of our variance, like Ed said, was the
Now wait, we can't hear you. We're getting background noise. And is that Jared speaking or who is that?
Randy Doutrick. I don't know why you're getting background noise.
Oh, okay.
Hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, part of
Do you want him sworn, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, he wasn't sworn.
He was,
Swear him in, please.
he was sworn already. He was sworn already.
He was,
Oh,
okay.
all right. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up one point, add to what Ed was saying is, because the ordinance requires a 6-foot buffer strip,
And just to let it known, we're 6 inches, like 5, 6 inches short of the 6 foot. We're actually 5.5 feet, just because of the narrow space between the existing sidewalk and the building. And we're trying to put the parking relative to the new entrance into the building there. And I just want to add that as part of our buffer strip variance.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Stock.
Mr. Doutrigan, looking at the plan that from your firm that's shown on the screen, can you just sort of describe where the boiler house part of this building is located?
It's on if you can scroll down towards Patterson Avenue, in the upper part there, we can see the new parking spaces, the copper screen. You went the opposite way. You gotta bring the whole drawing down.
You really have to get closer to your mic.
There you go, right there where your cursor is. Right there, that's the boiler point right there. And I'll let Ted talk a little bit. That's what's being converted into the daycare.
Okay, that's currently the decommissioned boiler house.
Yes.
And where is the new parking that's proposed?
Right to the right-hand side of that, you'll see 4 spaces right there, and then 4 spaces right up there. They turn either way to have access at the door there in the middle of the parking. Right where the cursor was, you have 4 there, and you can keep going off, and 4 right there. Those are the new spaces that we're requesting the variance associated with.
And where is the buffer strip for which we're requesting
Right
variance?
where the cursor is, just to the right, it's labeled right there, proposed grass buffer strip, right there, that's like that, that's it, the side of the sidewalk.
And what does the zoning ordinance require?
The section 600-1401.c requires a 6 foot wide buffer strip for 8 or more cars parking up against the street.
And what are we proposing?
We're proposing 8 cars, but with a grass strip and the grass is where we like to have grass instead of shrubs for the 4 foot high shrubs, just more for security, knowing that this is going to be operated at a 24-hour service. So through the middle of the night, somebody going out, this is more visibility when we have the site lighting on.
And again, I'm sorry, that was a little garbled. Can you explain why you believe the variance is necessary?
We're looking for the width of we have, because we're 5 inches short, but also security, because the daycare being operating 24 hours a day, that with a 4 foot high shrub along the parking, we would just like to have visibility for people going to their cars or coming and going in the middle of the night.
In your opinion, if the variance were granted and we wouldn't have to plant the 4 foot high plantings, would that be detrimental in any way to traffic on McClellan Street or to the use of the property or the surrounding area?
No.
Why do you feel that?
Because of the amount of people living there now, and we're not shining it directly at anybody's homes. And the homes are, I would say, well across the street, maybe 100 feet away till you get to an actual home with all the additional parking on the other side for the apartments.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think that's all I have for this witness.
Okay, anybody have any additional questions for this from the board? Any questions for this witness?
Yeah, what about the drop off this is a daycare for children, right?
Yes.
And the age and the drop off, and then you were talking about the lighting at night.
If you scroll down a little bit further on the drawing.
Yeah.
Let's do the
the other direction. The other direction.
The drop off. Where's that?
Right. So at the top here, you're seeing not off of McClellan, but off of the other side street there. That is the front entrance of the daycare, pointing to the north. So
Okay.
we're proposing a new curb cut in that location there and 4 additional parking spaces immediately adjacent to the entrance for the most convenient drop-off there. So that's where we see people going primarily, with some additional parking spaces being provided at the along McClellan Street around the corner where we've been discussing the buffer strip.
Okay, in the play areas, they have a sufficient fencing to protect the kids? I see. That's not,
To the west.
I
Ted,
see,
maybe
but-
you can, Ted,
You
maybe
see
you can
there's a-
just
on the
address
west
the
side of the
walk.
building, there's a
One at
note
a time.
for. there's
Ted,
a
maybe
note
you
there
could
for Bridge
address the, excuse
Playground.
me, Ted, address the walkway and how the children will access the play area.
Certainly. So there's a bit of a grade difference here. There's a swale, a drainage swale that's between the building, which is labeled here as Boiler House, and the playground, which is just to the west. So what we're proposing is an elevated bridge, for lack of a better word, with railings where the children can exit the stair tower at the west end of the building and have a controlled entrance into the fenced play area.
I see, bridge to playground, okay.
Exactly. So that's a secure connection between the two. And what we're showing there is a connection to an area that's about 9,000 square feet of outdoor play area immediately adjacent to the building.
Okay, and since it's 24 hours a day, you didn't seem to be mentioned too much about the lighting. You were talking about the concern for the people. What about the lighting plan? Make sure everybody's covered when they leave?
So this,
Or is that,
the
go ahead.
project that we're talking about here at the Boiler House, I mean, we're in preliminary design at this point. You know, we've developed the project to a schematic level. We're looking for the approvals for the use as part of this submission. And as we go on, we'll be submitting a full land development plan, which shows exterior lighting and, you know, all of the other requirements as part of that.
Fine, that'll be taken care of then. Thank you.
Correct. We're not asking for any variances associated with that. And, you know, I think, you know, with Randy's comments about, you know, part of the reason for omitting this buffer strip is security, so that we don't have bushes for people to hide behind. You know, we are paying attention to security and access and ingress and egress from the building.
Thank you.
Ted, are you able to show on your screen the renderings that you prepared of the exterior and the interior? Okay. First of all, would you identify yourself for the record? I've been calling you Ted just so it's clear.
Sure. Theodore Vidoc, principal and architect with Hamel Associates Architects. We're the architects hired by the Housing Authority for development of architectural plans for this project.
Spell your last name.
Vidoc, V as in Victor, E-D-O-C-K.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Vidoc, we have, and we'll submit these, there's 5 renderings that we'll submit, if it's okay with Mr. Price, after the hearing tonight.
So these are the views from that main entrance that we're talking about, and these are some of the preliminary drawings that we've been developing. And maybe I should just set a little bit more context to this project. You know, the project that we're talking about here is one piece of a larger project for the development of this entire sort of this block here. There's extensive improvements being planned for the park areas, the baseball field, the playground areas. This project is sort of the first phase of that, where we're looking to develop this vacant portion of the building into a 2-story daycare. So this footprint of this portion of the building is about 4,000 square feet. So we have 7,000 or 8,000 square feet of daycare on the lower level and the mid-level. And then on the upper floor is going to be the offices for the Oakbrook Homes management staff. They're currently located in another building on the other side of this parking lot on the corner of Scott and McClellan. And the intent is to move them onto the upper floor of this building. That frees up some space back in their existing building on the corner of Scott and McClellan for redevelopment as some other new community support, community meeting spaces. So there is some larger context to that, although none of that is, you know, part of the variance or the special exemption use that we're talking about here. But this is an important part of this overall project. So the rendering that you're seeing up on the screen here is sort of that main entrance that we're talking about. You can see the parking that we have off of the main street. And you can see, on the question about lighting, you can see that we're showing some suggestions for site lighting and paying attention to some of the pedestrian walkways throughout the areas here. And not that it's germane to the discussion, but view here of the interior of the lobby space for the daycare. I'm getting a little bit into the next piece of this, which is the special exemption use. But the intent for this, for the facility itself, is that it would be, as it's been stated, a 24-hour daycare that's run by a professional provider, specifically the Second Street Learning Center, who is already operating another commercial scale daycare within the city of Reading, is in discussions with the Housing Authority to also operate this facility. So what we're looking at here is, again, about 7,000 or 8,000 square feet, eventually supporting 60 to 70 children throughout the facility here, and really a professional scale daycare that would serve the residents here at Oak Brook Homes. I think what the Housing Authority is seeing is a real need for this 24-hour daycare that's economical, that's safe, that's clean, and is available in a convenient location immediately adjacent to their homes. That's not limited by operating hours. That's going to really support the employment of the residents there at Oak Brook Homes.
You want to go to the next rendering, Mr. Vidak?
So we had one other rendering here of the interior, again, just showing some of the office spaces, some of the open areas that'll be used here for the children.
Who's going to produce that?
I thought Mr. Vidak was doing that.
I'm still sharing the screen, aren't I?
We still see the outside of the drop-off area.
Okay. Right, so yeah, I've got two renderings here of the drop-off area. We've seen that one, and then the two of the interiors. So, again, conceptual in nature, but
Yeah, we're not, our screen hasn't
We're not
changed
seeing
yet. Yeah. We haven't.
We see the outside, we don't see the inside. We only need to see.
Let me reshare. Are you seeing an interior now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They were flipping on my screen. So this is the interior lobby space. Again, just showing some of the preliminary character of the space that we're trying to create here.
That's good.
All right. I think that's all I have for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Who else were you going to call, Mr. Stock?
I'm sorry.
Who else were you going to call?
That was it, Mr. Doutrig and Mr. Vidak.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Anybody on the board have any questions of the last witness we heard from?
Nope.
Okay. Anybody, Mr. Price, any questions?
I have none. I thought the presentation was very good.
Emily, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions? All right, seeing none. So Mr. Stock, go ahead.
Rest, Mr. Chairman. That's all we have.
So you'll move those,
Yeah, move those two exhibits and I'll submit those to Mr. Price tomorrow.
thank you, Mr. Stock.
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing nothing else on this matter, I'll bring this appeal to a conclusion and we'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. Decision will be mailed to you and we thank you for your participation. In those drawings that you submit, Could you show some interiors of where things might be if you're that far in the project?
We can show floor plans for each of the levels of the building if that would be helpful, yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So that concludes our zoning appeal meeting for April. And we thank all of you who participated this evening. We'll see you the second Wednesday in May. I don't know if we'll be in person by that time or if we'll still be doing Zoom. But anyway, we hope all of you have a good holiday, however you celebrate it. And Emily, if you want to leave us on the screen, we have a few little things that we need to take care of. And then we'll wrap it up for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night.